Hello there, my microphone is apparently on. Welcome back, everyone, to day one of the LJL Academy. I'm Middlecourt, producer, and apparently I do casting as well. Gonna be joined once again by Melvin Izzle for this matchup between Burning Court Academy and V3 Esports Academy. How are you feeling about this one, Melvin Izzle?
Well, we've got a little ongoing theory at the moment that if you do well in main league, you do poorly in academy, and V3 looks to be the exception to that rule.
Yeah, as we are going to be getting the rosters on screen, we can see here a couple of names that you might recognize for V3. Unica and UGO obviously have experience in the main leagues, but Burning Core Academy definitely no slouches as they were able to pick up a win earlier today versus Rascal Jesters.
And when you say some experience in the main leagues, I was literally talking over Unica yesterday.
Yeah.
In the playoff semi-finals, so they are readily experienced. The one thing that you could say that might pose as a negative is, while that's very good practice, it's not practice with your actual team for this. So you could go either way with it, however you want to approach it. Does mean that this might be a good angle for Burning Core Academy to actually take a game off of who we expect to be at least one of the eventual top teams.
Yeah, and it was a rough series for V3 yesterday, so I can't imagine that sort of you're in the perfect state of mind mentally to go into these games if you are Unica, but still, you've got to give some credit there. Clearly a very good player, but I think it's important that you touched on splitting time between two teams means that you don't necessarily get the practice that you need, whereas on the side of Burning Core, this is a roster that has been together for a few months, and I think we saw that cohesion, that higher level perhaps macro play come out in their earlier game.
I would say it wasn't only the macro play, but the draft was also quite coherent. They had the Diana Yasuo combo, always bread and butter right there. One presses R, the next one presses R. We saw them turn a Baron play with that one and basically put Rascal Jester back on the back foot and continue to sweep the game from there. You have the initiate tools of those two paired with a Tristana Leona bot lane. Good follow-up. Then you got a Poppy in the top side for if anything looks dire. It's just a really well-crafted comp, so I have to be excited coming into this one to see if they can actually contest against V3 in the champion select first of all.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the main thing, because I think you touched on it earlier. One of the things that we often see around about academy level teams is that the draft isn't necessarily on the same level. Obviously, the players are in academy, but a lot of the coaches are at that academy level as well, and maybe aren't as experienced as some of their counterparts in the LGL main league about putting together coherent drafts with clear win conditions.
Partly that, and also you are working with, if you think a bit like making a painting with the actual draft being the painting, you don't have as many colors to work with. You don't have champions for every type of position. You don't have every player going, no, I can play that. Yeah, it's fine. No, I've got 100 games of this in pro play in the past. Or you look at Utapon and go, that's just like you pre-ordered a painting on its own. And it's like, okay, well, I can play literally any champion you give me. You don't get that kind of luxury here. So you're working with a lot less tools, and the fact that they were able to put together something so coherent and so well done as their first game, already making me very excited to see this team.
Well, we will get to see them in action as we are heading into the pick and ban phase. V3 on the blue side, Burning Court Academy on the red. Irelia and Diana taken off the board by V3. Burning Court with the response of the Galio.
We did see the Irelia taken away from Burning Core in their first game of the day. We'll have to see how they choose to develop from here, because with that Diana gone, the Yasuo is not likely to come out. So now we're going to need to see a different flavor. What kind of other almost cut and dry combos can you see? Because part of the reason why when Unica stepped up into the V3 main roster, they had such good performance, they were MVP of their first series. Was because they were put on these card champions like Diana, like Volibear, that have a clear purpose, a clear way to play out the game, and they executed it well. So one thing we can definitely say about Unica is if you give them something with a clear plan, they will execute it well.
And it's about being able to play those meta junglers as well. I think we saw from DFM's jungler in the last 2 games played the Set and the Kayn. Obviously can have good performances and did look pretty good on the Set in the previous game, but wasn't quite able to match that level, as that's going to be a Varus B1 for V3 going into Marble's hands. This is looking pretty standard right now.
Nothing out of the ordinary. The one thing I will say is that there's no Thresh priority currently. This is something that could backfire on them if we did see Burning Core pick up an aggressive bot lane. Trundle is being hovered right now. That is a standard pick into these immobile carries like the Varus. Very strong jungler in of themselves, unless we see Unica pull out the Kindred, which they may have experienced the opposite side of this matchup yesterday in some very unflattering fashion.
Yeah.
Maybe this one's going to be something we could see them step up with. Okay, you just tried to trigger poor Unica. That is not even nice of you, Burning Core. Pulling out the Ziggs, some very dramatic Ziggs performances yesterday in the main league. So we'll have to see what V3 want to respond to that with, considering they didn't have a good answer yesterday for the main team.
Yeah, 1,649 damage per minute. Pretty disgusting performance from Megamin. For Axis on that one. Let's see if Creative or Akabuff can do the same thing. Will be the Lee Sin locked in for V3. Is probably going into the jungle. Hasn't really been a lane pick for a little bit of a while. But I am ready to see that jump get cancelled by the Satchel Charge, get cancelled by the Ice Pillar as well. If Burning Core are able to execute, it will be the Leona locked in. So V3 have already got their bot lane solidified. And Burning Core may choose to take a support here.
Like that Leona pickup, because she doesn't stack resistances in the same way other tanks do, so Trundle ult doesn't actually do too much to them compared to what it would if it was another stand pick. We do get that Yasuo still locked in though, so they do have the pillar which pairs with it. It just requires a lot more of a narrow window to press that R button, but this just seems to be something Creative is happy to fall back on. They have got, by technicality, 2 knockups on the team.
Yeah.
Satchel Charge, very easy to get done. It's just going to be something that we won't see as many of those combos early, but later on, still quite likely to come out.
Yeah, they're not quite as reliable as something like the Moonfall from the Diana, but obviously can still be in play. We do still have a couple of picks left for Burning Core Academy, so could go towards something like the Alistair, which would provide a little bit more of that reliable CC. Something like a Malphite as well could do the same job. And I love to see this from Creative. We've got a long history in the LJL of one tricks in mid lane that are incredibly good on a few champions. Seros obviously has to be the big one on that Ziggs and on that Heimerdinger. Arya as well, yes, he can play loads of champions, but the LeBlanc is really something scary from him. Maybe when we're coming into spring next year, Burning Core Creative's Yasuo could be one of those.
It's in a good state. I can't see why not. They can perform on it, as we do get 2 very standard anti-Yasuo bans protecting this mid lane pick with the Lissandra and the Cassio taken away. Not too many champions left that actually have solid matchups to the mid lane. We could see potentially a Renekton go there if Yu-Gi-Oh would want to pull that out. The Galio is already off the table. Renekton is banned, actually. Sorry, I forgot about that one. So realistically, I don't know what on earth V3 look to take away for this Yasuo now. One thing that you can say is because they picked up that Leona in the last rotation, that is one of Zig's favorite bot lane pairings. So they're in a bit of a weird spot where you don't want to pick the Nautilus because it doesn't work well together. The Thresh, we kind of had to talk about this yesterday, but we'll talk about it again today, of it's not the best pairing because the hook does not actually set you up for very much because it's not a consistent skill shot. It keeps Zig safe, but it does not help you go forward. So right now, Burning Core, they've got a lot of pieces that work together in of themselves, but I wouldn't say this is a coherent comp yet.
Yeah, I think we're looking at a lot of like individual champions that can have agency together. It is another knockup for Creative. It's going to be very happy with that one, but that is the Kennen locked in. Probably going to go towards Washir Day in the top lane, and there's not a lot of tools to disengage that immediately apart from the Trundle Pillar.
That is now going to be Yu-Gi-Oh's save for last pick. The Rise is still open. While they don't have a great time into the Yasuo, the Everfrost does still work through it, so it's something that later on in the game, they'll at least have options in the side lane and won't just get run down by Creative every time they look at each other, but still not the best case scenario for them. It's going to be a tough time, especially when you look at the fact they're against a Trundle and a Ziggs who outrange you and bully you with the Pillar and the Satchel Charge, respectively. we'll get a Wukong last pick here into the Kennen.
Yeah, so I feel like Wukong, it feels like to me, has been one of these champions who has been on the periphery of a lot of play. Obviously has a decent, strong laning phase and can combo very nicely into the team fights. A big knock-up for creative, which is something that Burning Core would have been wanting. But it means that their entire top side is mostly going to be doing physical damage. So could see Ninja Tabby be a pretty big pickup for V3.
And once again, that means that Akabuff needs to be ahead in this lane. If this Ziggs is put behind, if we don't see Burning Core protect this bot lane, then it backfires horrifically. Because, like you say, those plated steel caps will get insane value for V3 across the board. And they have people that can build it. Rise, as this card Battle Mage, has no problem whatsoever picking up those shoes. Same thing with top lane with Kennen. It's not as good for them. They'd much prefer to just go for the magic pen, but the fact that they will naturally itemize into a Zhonya's later still has that extra synergy on top of it.
Yeah, and I think the Kennen is a pick that we've been seeing a lot recently. Obviously, there was the LCK finals on Saturday where I think it was Khan did some absolutely nutty 1v2 under tower play, so definitely a champion that can pop off and allows you to weak side a couple of your lanes here if you are V3. Kennen survives on his own very well. Varus, notorious for just sitting back and firing piercing arrows. That means that this Leona can start moving around the map, pairing up with Unica, and really getting V3's composition snowballing.
Which is important because you want to make sure creative does not build up a big individual lead in the lane, because once they hit level 3, Yu-Gi-Oh is going to need to be constantly careful of kill threat. I believe that they did commit to going for that Ignite on the Yasuo. We'll see when we're in game, but they did have it hovered in the champ select, so it's gonna be one of those ones where you look at it and go, all right, if we leave them alone, they could just continuously die, and there's really not much a Rise can do to stop it, because you try and Rune Prison them, and it just gets windwalled in the way, so you can't ever actually stop the Yasuo chasing you. Considering there's a Trundle as well with them, I think Burning Core have a very easy route to victory here. I would say that they have the easier to execute comp. V3 should have the player advantage just based on name and experience, but we'll have to see if they can actually carry that through and use it to get themselves a tangible lead.
Well, and then that becomes a big statement. If you're able to win with a on-paper inferior draft, then a lot of teams are going to be looking at you going, well, there isn't really a way that we can straight up beat them. I do agree with you, Burning Core's draft, it's got a little bit more options to it. I feel like there isn't a strong answer to Creative's Yasuo other than just bullying him out in the early game.
One area that we should acknowledge, though, is there's a reason Rise has been priority picked in so many regions. Massive factor in the EU finals and semi-finals. The ability to roam to side lanes, the ability to play the map with this champion, with the Twisted Fate as well, has been something that has just won teams games at this point. If you can get a Realm Warp into the bot lane, yes, Yasuo can stop you. Ziggs can't. They can't do anything to it. If you've already put your Essence Flux onto the Wukong, you'll be able to tell when they clone and whatnot, and then you can kill topside as well. You have good ganks set up on both sides, so if Yu-Gi-Oh plays the map, this is a very different story to what we're setting it up to be. It's just the assumption that if these lanes go poorly before then, I don't think that V3 can get the answer. So first priority is to Burning Core, but V3 does have answers.
Yeah, that's going to be really important, as we are going to be heading into a game very shortly, just waiting on a slight delay. But considering all of that, actually, the players, the draft, the emotions going on, considering that Burning Core did pick up that win earlier on in the day, who do you think's going to take it, Melvin Izzle?
Ooh, I'm going to say Burning Core, but it's not by a long margin. This is a close game just looking at, because there's so many good tools for V3 to come back as well. Kennen is just one of those factors where if it's in a game, you can't really call the game over, especially when you look at how Burning Core want these fights to play out. It's everybody grouped together and then Ziggs far away. If a Kennen goes into the group, massive. Insane damage can come down, set up for Marble on this Varus to just pop people from far away. Or they could just one-shot the Ziggs, and then everybody else is fine to build armor because they can't stop them.
Well, we will have to see as we are jumping onto the Rift for V3 Academy versus Burning Core Academy. No shenanigans at level 1, apart from the engage from Hetal very early on to Picote. But it will just be Aftershock propped by the Leona Guardian for the Thresh and nothing more. Now, if we are the junglers here, Unica and Floor, is there a direction we want to be going? Or Hetal just wants to keep going forward, trading very aggressively in the bot side.
Well, I would say that there's a reason that we have Unica starting on their blue side jungle because of how much aggression is bot lane. I'm expecting a level 3, level 4 kind of gank from this Lee Sin down here because it looks like they're just trying to keep the fighting going. So Akabuff in these early levels has to decide whether to use abilities on the wave to stop the push or use them on the Leona to get the trade. And because they've been put in this weird spot so early on in the lane, it gives you free prio with the Varus, and auto-attacker by nature means that you could get away with it. So they can now get vision, get information on where Floor is, and because the wave is going to bounce back into them, it sets up for Unica to be down here. We see actually, though, similar story on the top side. Washide gets that ward down, and it will spot out Floor. So this Trundle is being tracked, and it means that V3 showing a little bit of that expertise way sooner than I thought they could.
Yeah, it's not about big flashy plays. That's not what makes the best teams. It's about the little 1% advantages that they're able to continuously get. And vision on the enemy jungler this early on is definitely one of those advantages. We see on the minimap, Flores had to path a really long way around to get to his Raptors, but those are still going to be spotted out as Unica is making his way onto the top side of the map for this Scuttle spawn, and already V3 showing their class.
Due diligence paid from all of the laners of V3 that is getting them a lot of value, because now we do have Unica able to path from the top crab to the bottom one. They don't care if creative sees them here. They've already got Yu-Gi-Oh on this crab waiting to say, all right, if Floor shows up, I'm just going to send them off. They're not allowed to walk over here. And then they tag out the guard, and it's Hetal over here. This is solid stuff coming out from V3 very early on. I know it hasn't converted to a big gold lead or anything, but you have to remember, looking at the minimap, Unica hasn't touched their bot side camps yet. They only got the red buff. They still have Raptors and Krugs to take, so they can have a really efficient clear going on here that Floor does not have access to, and because of the vision control, it means that Floor can't find good gank angles either.
Yeah, no, look at this top lane. It's pushing from Yellow Yoshi, so it's not like the Trundle can actually make something happen onto the cannon. Grump is going to be respawning, so if Floor wants to go for an invade, he can do. May just be spotted on the Rift Scuttle vision. No, not quite. So this is a good response from the Trundle, but the early game is definitely not going the way you would like.
They did use the Scryer's Bloom to watch out, and it was spotted because there are blue pings coming down onto their position. So they know Floor is here. Yellow Yoshi does have to back off here because they had to take a hefty health trade in exchange for pushing out the minion wave. Unica is looking. They have not found the Troll King, and they will lose one camp, but they still come out at the net lead, managing to dissuade them going any further to stop these wolves.
Yeah, that does mean that Flora is going to be back onto the map very soon with that Sheen and the Longsword, so going towards the Divine Sunderer build, which has seen so much priority from a lot of players, as Creative takes a little bit of his health bar in trade there. Yu-Gi-Oh! Playing very nicely on this rise, not falling down to an early deficit, which you might expect, but Washi Day is doing very nicely in the top side on this cannon, positively bullying out Yellow Yoshi, already got himself a 10 CS lead.
And we did see right there that because of the early ward coming out from the bottom lane of V3, Floor was spotted again. They know that they're on the Grump. They're going to know they go to Wolves. And the most critical part here is if they wanted to gank mid lane, they would be spotted on a ward. So it's one of those cases where if you control the enemy jungler with vision, you never need to worry about the stats that Trundle has. And on this patch, the differences were on patch 11.16. Lee Sin has actually been nerfed. Their Omnivamp coming out from the W has been halved at level 1. So it means that in extended trades, they're not going to be able to take them as much. And against Trundle, that's really the only kind of trade there is.
Well, we did see a nice flay coming out from Picote on the Thresh there, dissipating the engage from Hetal, but we see Unica moving aggressively into the enemy jungle. There is nothing here for him to take. as Floor goes to his Raptors. But again, it's the story of this game. There is a ward there.
And Unica is just lurking for this Scuttle Crab, and the reason that they haven't committed to the Dragon yet, I imagine, is because their bot lane wanted to take a reset, and Yu-Gi-Oh has to go the whole way around to get this double vision down.
What is this?
Oh, this is just clinical as of current, and it's one of those things where Floor, as this Trundle, is meant to be getting these early gank windows. We're talking about how the priority is on Burning Core first, but look, that ward was so deep they didn't even scry it because they didn't think there'd be wards there, and it hasn't been without counterattack. Burning Core have got vision down here, but they don't realize they're being collapsed on.
Oh, he doesn't know. Hetto's coming through as well, but might not get there in time for Floor to go down. There comes the damage out from the Rise. The Windwall is popped up, but the auto attacks don't get blocked. That's the first blood going over to V3, and it may be more. Rune Prison lands onto Creative. Picode is in the area, and with the Dark Passage, is able to get his mid laner to safely. First blood going over to V3, and that jungle tracking paying off.
There's a team effort right there. You have to give V3 credit just as a squad. I did not think I could be so impressed with an academy team in such a short period of time, but that was more impressive than any series of skirmishes that I could have seen from this kind of roster, because when you have academy talent, you imagine they're going to be mechanically good, because you don't get into academy things like this without showing off that you can click buttons really well. But this is a different talent entirely, and you can see it's Yu-Gi-Oh and Unica, the two experienced members, being the main shot callers here, punishing the jungler, and even calling for the supports to roam up. So do you have a play to topside?
Oh, here comes Unica and Yu-Gi-Oh once again. Yellow Yoshi going under his tower, but it's kicked in the damn face by Unica, who picks up his second kill.
It's mid-jungle gap right here. One of the things that we are criticizing earlier in the day was a Nidalee not having any good gank setup. Lee Sin, Unica has a laugh of a time right here. Every lane has hard CC. Even the mid lane, Yu-Gi-Oh, we were talking about, they're not going to have a good time in lane, so they're just not playing lane.
Yeah, they're 11 CS down. That top lane play does mean that Burning Core are able to pick up this Cloud Drake, but honestly, at this point, I'd rather have the early gold, especially on Unica's Lee Sin that has been looking so good at making plays, and I doubt he's going to be slowing down anytime soon.
I will say that if you had to make a team comp that like Cloud Drake, they've got it, but this has to be a dead cannon under tower.
Yeah, absolutely has to be. Exhaust going down as well as the Mega Inferno bomb. First kill of the game going over to Burning Core. It's a good response from them, but look at this. V3 going towards the top side of the map as they've swapped their duo lane into mid and will be looking to pick up this first Rift Herald.
Shide's TP will be up in a moment when they respawn, so I imagine they're going to have to use it on this bot lane, because otherwise Akabuff on this 6 will kill the turret. This is one of the things when you swap bot lane for Herald. Usually it works really well against lanes like Senna, these kind of champions who can't push turret quickly. Ziggs is literally only known for pushing turrets quickly. This is their main thing. They explode objectives. That is the one part about them that has never changed. As soon as they introduce that satchel killing turret mechanic, it's been just really difficult to play the map against the Ziggs. As we saw from V3 yesterday on the main roster, it's just one of those champions that shuts down so many options. Has to be said though, even with that, V3 have managed to use this early window before Ziggs is out on the map, before they can control the mid lane, to actually get a lot done. Considering they didn't even lose the bot lane tower there for the Herald, they do have counterplay options now with Unica holding that one in inventory.
Yeah, they didn't lose the tower, but they did lose 3 plates, which means that the gold advantage they built for themselves early on isn't actually that sizable. Akabuff is going to be sitting on a lot of coins, as is Creative, who has had a pretty fun time completely ignoring the rest of his team, farming up in the mid lane, has hit that 100 mark at 10 minutes, so on track for a pretty good score. And we talked about this Yasuo potentially being a thorn in V3's side. Creative definitely on track to be that thorn.
And one of the reasons why I think the Cloud Dragon is actually impactful for this team, because the Yasuo ult is really the main thing that actually lets you make plays. Having Yellow Yoshi's ultimate up too, obviously a good facilitator, but the fact that it will get to a point where Floor could just walk mid lane off cooldown and press E on the pillar, force Yu-Gi-Oh to, well, they don't have flash, so die in most cases, and just get last breath. That's really the best case scenario. We do have a play on the bot side, but you can't really push minion waves into Ziggs. They'll be able to kill this Rift Herald, and they get a trade of plates, but on their own, the Ziggs managed to secure more turret plating while the team rotated for Herald. So not a worthwhile trade from V3, possibly their first macro falter they've had this game. But you know what? That's still a pretty impressive thing to say, considering we're in Academy at 11 minutes.
Yeah, I think Yu-Gi-Oh was cheating down from the mid lane, potentially looking for a Realm Warp play, but the thing is, Ziggs clears waves pretty darn quickly with that Mega Inferno Bomb, so it was just a couple of plates going over, like you mentioned, not too much gold connecting, as Burning Core might be looking to connect with Washide, does have ultimate, does have the Slicing Maelstrom if Burning Core go for this fight.
Which means that Burning Core can't give it away first, because if you know, then Kennen can preemptively use the ultimate. It disengages a lot of the play, means that the Yasuo is going to take a lot of damage while they're channeling that last breath. So, Burning Core, I would say, making the safer answer of just rotating back to mid, going to try and get some more prio and rinse and repeat, because has to be said, good setup for this Yasuo in both side lanes. They just don't have a tool like the Realm Warp that enables them to roam like Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, and it's nice to see restraint from both of these teams. On opposite sides of the map, within about a minute, 2 minutes of each other, deciding not to go for dives when they wouldn't pay off. Academy leagues are often characterized by over-aggressive plays, but that is not what we're seeing here.
And I'm going to pivot the conversation a little bit to this Ziggs, because they are one of the things that stop the aggression and almost slow down games exponentially, as 55 minutes spoke yesterday. I'll stop here while Creative is being jumped on, but it looks like they will not get taken down. Kote roaming up on this Thresh, good stuff, and clearing out some of the vision. I think they're starting to get wise to V3's vision game and is going to mitigate it. But on this patch, one of the main difference between now and playoffs is Ziggs has also been nerfed. What they changed was a bit less mana early. They gave mana back early, but they made it so his E, the minefield, is much worse at a single point. It only has a 10% slow as opposed to 30%, but returns back to normal and is better when you max it second, which removes one of the main benefits they had, where you could max the satchel charge on Ziggs and it would execute towers from, I think it's 37% HP, which early into the game is disgusting. So now there's a bit of a trade-off here.
Oh, that was disgusting amount of damage onto Heather, who's forced to flash away. And that means that this Drake that V3 are setting up for looks a hell of a lot less likely. Yu-Gi-Oh trading aggressively onto Creative, does land the knock-up, and will dodge away from that final overload. Yellow Yoshi was forced to recall by Washide, but that means that he is regen to full HP. His floor is flashing kind of in the wrong direction, gets kicked back into V3, and will just be deleted. Yellow Yoshi's made his way to the bot side of the map. Washide still has that teleport, but may look to take this tower first. V3 backing away from the Drake, though, as Burning Core in the area.
Can't take the 4v4 with those cooldowns committed, Chains of Corruption down. Every ultimate actually down from V3 outside of the Kennen, so we'll just give them the option to walk away. Still a good kill to pick up, and because Washide did not have the TP, they were able to just get a lot of tower damage down. They will be able to secure this turret. It is the first one of the game, and Yu-Gi-Oh, while they got chased out of mid lane, they basically zoned Yellow Yoshi from just walking back to the turret, so it ended up dying anyway. So net positive on this rise. The early Lucidity boots paying off big time. They actually got that before they went for the Lost Chapter, so have to give them credit for it. Let's see how this play started off, though.
Yeah, I felt like it was just a Trundle sort of a little bit caught in the wrong place. As...
Did time just fast forward?
Something has happened there. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Ziggs is taking a tower and Burning Core are taking a Drake. Everything is okay.
Oh, that was it. Ziggs blew up the replay. That's what happened, right? Yeah. They said like blow it up, like zoom in, but no, they talked to Akabuff, so it was a bit of a miscommunication.
Satchel Charge works on replays now, I guess. That was one of the buffs that you didn't mention when we were talking about the changes that he has received, as Hettel is a little bit caught out here. That's the last breath onto Leona, will get dragged back. Akabuff picks up another kill. I've been awake for a while, Melvin, so please forgive me.
I will, because I was quite sleepy in the first game, but you know what, we'll take a look at this one, because one of the things that this comp does differently to the Diana Yasuo combo is they can pick single targets very easily, and very frequently the pillar and the satchel charge always up. The fact that you also have a thresh to go alongside it, even better. The tools they have to make these readily available picks is so good from Burning Core.
Okay, Creative is diving forward onto Washide, but you do not get that man sliced through by the Maelstrom, and that's Washide's first kill of the game.
And I think that Creative didn't expect to be able to get that knockup right there, so they backed off, and that was the reason they didn't win the trade at the end of the day. Does manage to get the flash out of both Creative and Washide, which I think is far more impactful removing the Kennen's flash, but that was tower secured. No death and double summoners off Creative, so V3 are happy with it, but it does limit some of their plays because now Washide needs a TP flank angle if they are to go for big ultimates. Let's take a look at how it started, because Creative didn't get the better end of the beginning of this, and then, yeah, they just didn't expect to be able to get the knockup. I think that they could have stayed on top of them right there and almost said, all right, if you keep hitting the tower, I'm going to kill you. Bit of indecisiveness, not exactly the most unexpected thing. They still had the confidence to go back in after, so it is something to commend in that aspect. Just means that they need to work out the kinks, which they have time to do. That's the point of Academy. You improve over time, and next time they're in that situation, I would put down money that Creative is not backing off.
I'll tell you what, we've got a little bit of a rat race right now, as it's the two Yordles that are leading their respective teams in gold. Akabuff over 1k ahead of Marbles Varus, but Washide doing one better, going 2k almost ahead of Yellow Yoshi. Big AP threats in team fights. We're going to have to see how it plays out. Burning Core have got a couple of Drakes to themselves, but do sit in a gold disadvantage. Baron spawning in a minute and a half as V3 are making their way towards this mid lane. Do have the Herald in pocket. We'll be looking to take down this tower.
And taking a look at itemization, Creative is the only non-support that doesn't have a mythic. They went for this Mortal Reminder first. That is extra movement speed from the Zeal part of it. It's something. I personally don't get it. I'm not a Yasuo expert, so I'm not going to pretend to, but we do have V3 using this Rift Herald on mid, which is really, really impactful because killing a mid lane turret against Ziggs, nicely done to deny the second charge. But if you take out that tier 1, now Akabuff does not exert the same pressure on the map. They have to walk further forward to be able to impact the side lanes with the ultimate. They can't hold the minion wave and give permanent control over their jungle, and you can see it in the vision. V3 have already got shallow wards on the top side, shallow wards on the bot side, where if Ziggs had that tier 1 mid to control, these wards become very dangerous to place and can lead to deaths just by trying to get that initial vision.
I mean, Kennen does have TP up, and you are looking at each of those wards, and every time someone walks past it without clearing it out, you are rubbing your hands and getting ready to press that teleport button. Burning Claw looking to respond, though, by pushing in the mid wave. V3 are in the area, though. Unica could look for something here onto Flores. He will be going in with a Resonating Strike, but pops straight back out. Solarflare actually used, and the Zenith Blade flashed away from by Bakote. A lot of spells blown, but no one's going down.
That flash gone on the Thresh. Not going to be the most impactful one because it just means they'll have to play further back now. One less frontliner, be able to always chuck the locket out is still something. Decent, but I would say that it's another one of those situations where the play goes in V3's favor, but I look at it and go, Kennen, Leona, these flashes are far more impactful than Yasuo and Thresh, because the mobility for Yasuo is already there in the ultimate and the E, and Thresh doesn't really care too much, just means they can't face check.
It's a nice hit landing onto Hezo's. Yellow Yoshi is going over the wall, but again doesn't want to overcommit. With this Drake spawning in a couple of seconds' time, it would be soul point for Burning Core, a potential win condition. But if you lose a fight around it, Baron is on the table, and V3 could look to pick that one up.
And I would say this Dragon is a lot better for Burning Core than it is for V3. When you look at it, the lack of pen being built from the top side and the fact that Varus builds so much of it means these mountain dragons will do a lot of work for Burning Core. V3 not as much. We'll have to see if they can actually get in range contest, because Washide is over here. We may get the 1v1 run back between Yasuo and the Kennen, as this crab is the main point of contention.
He's going on a bit of an adventure as the Zenith Blade doesn't quite land. Yellow Yoshi popping in, will be stunned up, take a whole heap of damage to his health bar. Solar Flare as well, landing just combo down with the CC. That's going to be Trundle as well, trying to fight on the backside of the fight, but it's V3 getting another kill. The flash fall from Yu-Gi-Oh, but the wind wall is big. The exhaust takes down the Rise, but not before he can get a double kick coming through onto Creators of Heat as full as well. And Washid Day will take down Akabuff into the Zhonya's, but one more arrow to the face from Marble will win V3 the fight.
That will be the dragon secured, only losing 2 members for an ace. They can only be happy with that one. Yellow Yoshi does have the teleport available in 7 seconds, but no wards to actually come down on. I don't think they will be coming here immediately. They do have the ultimate. Oh, sorry, I just didn't see that ward. All right, they're actually going to go for it, and there's good targets.
Yeah, low health bars on V3, but they are able to escape the area. Yoshi choosing not to flash over the wall, and all of a sudden, a game that was oh so close has just been blown open by V3. Get the Drake, get the team fight, get themselves a 4K gold advantage.
So there are about 3 moments here where I was just like grabbing onto my heart because I thought there was going to be a massive maelstrom, and they waited until the last moment. It was one of those ones where they don't have the stopwatch, they don't want to hard commit, but watch here. It is just a matter of Yellow Yoshi committing, getting immediately stunned up and chipped down before they can get the clone. They are just perfectly chain CC'd by V3. And look at Wash Day on the side. I thought that this was going to be the moment. I thought this was going to be the moment, but they don't have the flash from that previous bot lane play. So it does mean that Burning Core is able to at least get a return kill, get a second return kill, which if the Kennen had flash, they would not be allowed to do. So paying some dividends for that still goes massively in V3's favor though.
As Yellow Yoshi is trying to 1v1 Washide, who's 2 levels up, gets the stun as well. The monkey goes back in, but here comes the slicing Maelstrom, and that's a lot stronger than a Cyclone, as it's a solo kill for Washide.
Is going to be looking at the storm chart and going, yeah, Ken kind of wins that one right there. The Cyclone is not something that you really hide from the same way you would from a Maelstrom. It's a lot more dramatic wording as well, which is also fun to hear. But V3 is going to chase Floor back into the jungle. No Chains of Corruption available. That is a flank from Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, that's very aggressive from Yu-Gi-Oh! Will get hooked under tower. The kickback is big, but not as big as the damage going onto the Rise. Diving under the tower. 1 kill traded back for V3, but here comes Creative. Knock up onto the Lee Sin. Picks up a double. And Burning Core are not going down without a fight.
They could look at this Baron, but Kennen has the teleport, no ult though, so I think this is a fine commit from them. If they do want to go for it, they have jungle advantage. There's no reason to not take it, especially when you're against a Kennen without ultimate. The fact you can just pillar them from afar.
Oh,
Creative's ult is halfway up now.
Oh, Marble's in the area as though this is a 2v4, but that's so much damage from the Shuriken. That's 1 kill already going over to V3. Washide lands another stun. No clone available. The flash is though. Here's another TP coming through from V3. Burning Core over aggressed, and they are getting punished severely. It's a 3rd kill in the fight for their namesake V3, crushing the game.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Respawns where he fell the first time over, and this time it went a lot better for them. Not exactly the best start to the play for V3, but it goes in their favor in the end. I feel like Middle Core, I've said that 6 times or something now. These plays just always look Burning Core favored initially and then backfires in a big way, which I think you have to commend V3 for. They're able to play out the longer engagements, the ones that you can't just see a kill, take a kill, that's it, which again, shows a lot more of those qualities of experienced teams. It has to be coming from Yu-Gi-Oh! And Unica. You can see it just by who is initiating the plays.
Yeah, as it started off with Yu-Gi-Oh! Going very aggressively, does get hooked under the tower and falls very quickly, but like you said, V3 just turn it around oh so well.
The fact that Unica and Hatel are able to get at least 1 kill there is amusing, but as you see, they do end up going massively negative on the play. The 2 for 3 in the favor of Burning Core, and the 3rd death was that Wukong from earlier, so they are going to be able to walk into this play. But just watch this. You can't really contest onto them without the Yasuo
Look at the
ultimate.
Shuriken damage here.
Oh, it's nutty.
Ooh.
It's absolutely disgusting. And the fact that Floor gets tagged by that one just dies to the Baron buff. Chase down, you force out Yellow Yoshi's flash, which is an impactful one because engaging with Cyclone's big.
Oh, they're engaging directly onto Washida, who's able to pop the Slicing Maelstrom, but it doesn't last long enough. One kill already going over to Burning Core. As in goes Hertel, down goes Hertel, but down goes Creative. A lot of the damage is gone, but here it comes for V3. Yu-Gi-Oh gets himself a kill. That's one going over to Marble. That's two going over to Marble. And it looked good for Burning Core at the start, but V3 win the fight. Have I said that before?
3 for Akabuff, though, on this Ziggs. If they do not lose or do not lose inhibitors off of this push, this Ziggs is going to be massively accelerated and will be able to push back. They are the 3 items now, most completed items in the game on a single member. They should be able to repel this for the moment, as it looks like it will be just turning around, trying to get priority for that dragon. But look at the respawns. Burning Core will be up in time. So V3, they're in a bit of an awkward spot now where their carries want the reset, but they don't have time to.
Yeah, it was...
It's pillar. This is all pillar.
It's a little bit too far up. This is a long intro to a replay, guys. I think something else might have happened right here. It's Washida going forward and then the pillar immediately into the last breath.
Blow them up. Can't do anything if they are chain CC'd. And this is the thing that Burning Core's comp excels at, is killing a single member, but you can see as soon as it turns into a big team fight, it goes way out of their control. And this extra damage that Yu-Gi-Oh and Marble are offering, the AoE, is something that you cannot match as the Burning Core team. It looked like V3 were able to secure the dragon, though, in that downtime.
Man, look at Marble. We said it must all be Unica and Yu-Gi-Oh, but shout out to my boy Marble. He is doing insane levels of damage on this Varus. I'm getting honey flashbacks from a day or so ago. 6-0 and 6. Has that 700 gold bounty as Yellow Yoshi is being jumped onto by Hetel. Do see V3 a little bit split up, though. Could be over-aggressing. Last Whisper going down onto the Leona immediately. Will get taken down by Bakote, but Creative will be traded back. And floor is very, very low. V3 opting not to take that Realm Warp forward, as Yu-Gi-Oh is still in the area. But floor is no longer due to that Dark Passage. Just ends up being a 1-for-1.
Yu-Gi-Oh learning from last time. Thing about the Ziggs is because they can time their abilities very consistently, if you do commit to a big Realm Warp play, there is the potential that you just die before you actually get to do anything. Yeah. They can put the satchel down on top of you, the ultimate if it's off cooldown. Akabuff is level 15. They are about to hit 16, which means that ultimate will be doing insane damage. If they are proccing the Horizon focus, it will be up in the 1k kind of numbers for the outer part of it. And this play is one of Burning Core's actually starting off initially. And I won't say it looks like it's going in their favor, because look at who gets actually ultimated by the Yasuo. It's just Leona. So we have Washida just killing everybody on this cannon on the side. Massively chunked out. Doesn't commit to chase him further, though, so it will be just a 1-for-1, like you said.
Yeah, and whilst it wasn't a defeat for V3 by any means, that was a fight that they didn't necessarily need to take. Baron and Drake not up for a couple of minutes each, so it's a little bit of that Academy aggression that maybe we expected. Yellow Yoshi has his recall interrupted, but will not be falling down for it. But here we go, V3 clearing out some vision in this bot side, looking to make a play onto this bottom tower.
And I want to point out the gold lead, because quietly V3 have built up a good 8k in their favor here, as Marble going to pop that one with the Edge of Night shield isn't going to get hooked out. It does mean that right now, if you do take a straight up fight, V3 just mathematically are favored because of the amount of gold they have on these key carries like Marble, Yu-Gi-Oh and Washida. We saw that Washida is currently the highest level in the game on this cannon. Most XP. Makes a lot of sense for the performance they've been having.
Yeah, it has looked very strong, but we saw though that Burning Core were actually able to halt the advance from V3. That Wind Wall combined with Akabuff's Wave Clear provides very strong anti-siege tools against what is realistically only going to be the Varus that excels in that regard. But V3 are able to move around the map, and whilst they don't get that bottom tier 2, they are able to claim the one in the top lane.
And they are excelling in that regard. No deaths currently on Marble, which, when you have tools like the Trundle Pillar, like the Ziggs Satchel Charge, you don't expect, because all it takes is one stray ability to hit them. They get knocked up and killed. They don't have any defensive tools outside of that stopwatch. I will say, though, looking at it, that's 5 stopwatches for V3 across the whole board, and an extra Zonya's on Yu-Gi-Oh! So any play that looks Burning Core favored is likely to backfire very quickly.
Yeah, it is time for V3 to show us what they are made of. Baron is on the table. Mountain Drake live in a minute as well. As Floor's getting his recall interrupted. The Dark Passage is there, but he might not survive through the CC to grab it. As Marble will pick up another kill, and there is the multi-man realm warp going on to Pakote. The Elyoshi and Akabuff are in the area, but they're forced to flash back as Washide is on the side aggressing. V3 get themselves a pick on the jungler of all champions, and they will be looking to pick up this Baron.
Okay, so we do not have the Rabadons completed yet for Akabuff. They are the only blue trinket on the team. So Pakote needs to try and get some semblance of vision. You can see, though, that just the vision control coming out from V3 is immense. They cannot actually approach the pit, so this is going to be a blind ult steal if they go for it.
Yeah, it does have that available, but will not cast it in time. Second Baron of the day, of the game, going over to V3 as that gold lead extends to 11,000. Mountain Drake going to be on the table very soon. It's looking tough for Burning Core to contest this.
When you have a team play so cleanly throughout the entire game with the amount of mistakes being countable on a hand realistically, it makes me almost believe that it's hard for Burning Core to win, even with the Ziggs stalling ability, because your biggest condition would be particularly Marble stepping out of position, but they have the Edge of Night, they have the stopwatch, they even have both summoners at the current moment, so picking them is difficult. Picking Kennen backfires more often than not, so it means that Yu-Gi-Oh!, the double Zonyas and Flash Wielder, needs to die first, which even then doesn't make you completely favored for Burning Core, because it's just the fight between between this Varus and the Ziggs, and right now Varus is winning.
Yeah, winning by a long margin. Has 3 items completed himself. Not quite at the same level as Akabuff, who has been absolutely dominating the farm game, where it feels like priority by V3 has been given over to Yu-Gi-Oh! Makes sense on the rise. A lot of late game damage from him once you start getting into the nitty gritty of the fights. But it will be the Sherilda's Grudge picked up now for Marble. Going to give you a hell of a lot more damage, and importantly, a lot of setup too.
The fact that you can slow into Leona ultimates, into Lee Sin, flash kicks is very good. It just helps your team actually get the plays done, which is going to be the most important part here, because if you ever tag a slow onto Akabuff, you will have Unica smelling blood, because they can jump in behind them. They've got so much mobility on this Lee Sin that is difficult to interrupt. It kind of has to be Pakote or Yellow Yoshi, because I don't expect Floor to be able to stop them on the pillar. It's possible. It's just really hard to do.
Oh my crikey, Yellow Yoshi is taking a load of damage. Importantly, most of it onto the clone, so he is able to Dark Passage away. But I think it's important that we talk about Akabuff now. Has looked very, very good this game, but crucially doesn't have a stopwatch or Razonias in inventory. He knows that he needs to be the damage, and although he has only died twice, if he dies a third time, I think it might be lights out for Burning Core.
It would have to be a double ace scenario for it not to be at this point in the game. If any V3 members are left up after the fact, I can't imagine Burning Core being able to hold on without this Ziggs. Washide is pushing on the side. They need to fight here.
Oh, they are fighting here, but there comes the double stopwatch, and V3 are getting into the fight. Leona has already fallen down, but trading immediately for Pakote. Massive ultimate in the backside, and this is the gold lead hitting you directly in the face. V3 already picked up 3 kills for themselves. Akabuff will be falling for the third and final time this game, as only Floor remains against the might of V3 Academy, who are looking to pick up their first win of this academy split. Backing in the base, going to be TPing back forward now, as Floor is just running, will be taken down by some minion autos, but V3 in a drawn out but dominating, convincing victory take down Burning Core Academy.
Extremely good form, very reserved in the early game. I would say the best vision control I've actively seen from a team for a while. You have to give credit to them. They have played so well, and there is a reason that we were looking at all these teams going, well, funnily enough, it's probably going to be this team that does well, if not wins the whole thing. We'll have to see if any other teams can compete on this kind of level, because that was a hell of an opener.
Yeah, and I think the important thing for me was that Burning Core looked pretty good. in that opening game. A little bit slower than maybe we expected. Didn't go for game-ending fights when maybe they could have done. But they matched up well as well. Definitely not a side that we can discount as we get further and further into the week. Obviously, a lot of these games are best of one, so playing a consistent style where you try and avoid making mistakes is probably going to get you more victories than it's going to land you defeats. But we will have to see. Coming up after the break, we are going to have Rascal Jesters Academy facing off against Fukuoka SoftBank Hawks Gaming Academy. Don't go anywhere.